All right, it is 8:30. We are going to get open for our, yes, there we go. Helps if I get a little bit closer. All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to call this meeting to order. We will start with roll call. Trustee Schutz. Here. Coleman.
Yes.
Hall. Here. France.
Here.
Constant. I don't know who I was waiting to say here, but here I am. All right, do we have a motion to adopt or amend the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? All right, meeting agenda is adopted. Anyone here for public comment on closed session items? Seeing none, we will adjourn to closed. All right, are we all good to go over there? Okay, welcome everybody, good morning. Thank you for coming to our meeting today. We will get started here. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So go ahead and rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have nothing to report out from closed session. It was just an information item. So I'm going to go right into our board expectations. And you know what? Normally I ask somebody to read them, and I didn't do that today. Does anybody want to read the board expectations?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
All right, thank you.
All right, our board expectations are to prepare all students for life, college, and career with high-quality academic opportunities for all students and support student academic success. Engage in partnership with families and the community. The school is a welcoming, safe environment that serves as the center of student learning, activities, athletics, and performing arts. And we promote a sense of community in our schools and the surrounding areas. And utilize effective governance and business practices. We remain open, transparent, and accountable to the community, and we serve as an employer of choice with the highest quality teachers and staff.
All right, thank you for doing that. Now I'm going to read you the big ol' section, so that's why I like to break it up so that I'm not talking at you so long. Item 5 is our public comment and announcement of meeting protocols. The Board of Trustees encourages public participation during the meeting and requests civility and use of courteous language. The board does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant and/or district employee. There will be an opportunity to speak to the Board of Trustees on items not on the agenda during the public comment section, as well as opportunities to speak to each item on the agenda when that item comes up for consideration. In the interest of facilitating the conduct of the public's business, members of the public who wish to address the board during the meeting will have specific time limits as follows. If less than 10 members of the public wish to comment on agenda or non-agenda items, the time limit for each public comment will be 3 minutes per person. If there are 10 or more members of the public who wish to comment, the time limit will be 90 seconds. A complaint about a specific employee or employees of the district should be made to that employee's immediate supervisor or the school site principal as outlined in our board policy and administrative regulation. Please complete the comment form, which is this one here, located on the table in the lobby, and we will call on you when it is your turn to speak. This meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be archived. This meeting will be live streamed for viewing only. Link to live streaming can be found at rjuhsd.us/livestream. All right, that was it. You see why I have someone else read the board expectations, because it's a mouthful. So really quick, I'm just going to announce again, if anybody has a comment card, have you filled it out? Do we have all of them? Yes. Oh, we got one more. Okay, go ahead and bring that to Kim. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so we have just one action item today, which is why we're all here, and that is item 6, our RJUHSD attendance boundary discussion. This has been ongoing for a while, and we're calling a special meeting today as a continuation from last week, and I think we're ready for Mr. Landon.
Sorry, I forgot to put this on. As we get this up, just as Heidi said, this is a continuation of our discussion from a week ago, I guess. So I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, but just to kind of reframe what we've been talking about. So this is our current attendance boundary map that would be in effect 26-27. And as I also put in the attendance boundary grid codes in case the board wants to. Last time we were struggling a little bit so that the public could see. So I have this on the presentation if anybody wants to discuss grid codes, or for the public, that's here as well, in case those become part of the discussion. So the problem that we had, this was back in March, and wanted to say the colors, and I just put this exactly like it was back in March. And so since then, we have updated the colors a little bit and some of the numbers, but I wanted to, just for full transparency, this is the problem that we showed you back in March and that we were trying to resolve, is really in that blue box area, particularly at Roseville High School and West Park High School, that we were getting projected to be above capacity. We needed to address how to make sure we're not above our capacity at those school sites. So once again, just recap from last time as well, our objectives were to balance the growth in the Northwest to match school capacities, ensure all schools are able to maintain robust programs and utilize their school capacity, and reduce school travel times as best possible across the district. And the goal is to achieve these objectives while impacting the smallest number of families in the district. So we have two scenarios for the board, as well as some of the prior scenarios I left as copies for, so if you wanted to go back. But as far as the two latest proposed scenarios we have, scenario A is the proposal that I brought to the board last time. And you can see in that scenario, when you look at the enrollment numbers, the blue box is in a much better shape. The only schools that we project needing to address via either closing interdistrict transfers or adding portables would be at Granite Bay High School and West Park High School. So even though those are slightly above capacity, we have solutions for both of those. Wood Creek High School gets a little close as they get to 2248. Right now, the capacity we roughly expect for Wood Creek is about 2250. So there's a possibility if those numbers come in a little higher, we might need a portable or two at Wood Creek, but generally speaking, we believe Wood Creek would be in a good spot as well. So this scenario does address the issues, as well as it puts Oakmont and Roseville in a nice, good green target where they have good capacity for having robust programs at both of those schools. We created one additional scenario, which is very similar to scenario A. The only difference would be in the bottom right corner of Wood Creek's attendance boundary. We included that it was grid code 350, and wanted to show what that would look like if we kept that little area in the Wood Creek attendance boundary. So similar to scenario A, in scenario B, we feel this scenario works for the district. Wood Creek is a little higher, but I put them into gray as we got to 2229 and 2030. You see the numbers are a bit higher than that 2250 we were roughly looking at, but the numbers aren't that much higher. And so we believe if these numbers continue, and that's what we actually have, we could have a few portables. And it looks like it would probably just be a temporary thing, if anything, just for a few years. So it may not be needed, or it may just be a small amount. But staff feels that this is definitely a scenario that we could work with as well. So we wanted to bring both scenarios to the board. I also wanted to talk a little bit about transfer guideline considerations. This is something that's still in the works, and we would need to spend more time with the board and staff to figure out what works for the district, because transfers, it is a bit tricky, as you can't look at just 1 year. You have to look over multiple years. If you have a policy, it wouldn't be just for 1 year. It would be something we'd have to plan for in coming years. So, but I wanted to put this up to the board. There's also a copy of kind of a prettier version of this that we're kind of working through. So I know a few board members were asking about this, so we wanted to kind of give you a draft of what we are thinking so far. With that, I told you it would be pretty quick, but wanted to give this to the board for further discussion, and also give the chance for the public to provide their input. But today we're looking for potential board action on proposed boundaries, and then these other topics such as grandfathering and program specialization and transfer policies we'd look to address in the future.
All right, thank you. Thank you for all your time on this. I will open it up to any additional board questions from last time. Okay.
Just the questions on the Sorry, just a question on the transfers. I know you mentioned not a guarantee. I think that's one of the areas that I really would like us to see some certainty. So what are the things that would make something like this not work? So what do you envision would be something where we would trigger this but not implement it, or not trigger it but implement it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the one example I can think of, maybe Mel can chime in too, is, for instance, at West Park. When we first opened West Park, we were starting to realize we were going to be full soon. We weren't full now. And so it's when does that trigger get pulled? Is it 2 years before, 3 years before? And every school is in a different scenario. So I think that's one of the challenges, is figuring out how to make something that spans over multiple years. Because if we leave it open and we let everybody go, then all of a sudden 2 years later, we've got people who've been grandfathered in, sibling transfers. And so that's one of the challenges, is the multi-year component of it.
So, Mel, did you have something to add, or I saw you shaking?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's something that needs to be looked at every year, depending on where the numbers are at every year. So that's the challenge, is I could see us posting this, but then when we evaluate enrollment October, November, before transfers open, what we posted the previous year could change. So that's the challenge with transfers, is every year before we open up the transfer window, we look at enrollment, we look at future enrollment, we determine, can we take transfers into these schools? So I could see those colors changing yearly.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about them changing yearly. I'm worried about when they change, it be predictable, so that I, as a parent, sitting at home with my kids, looking and saying, okay, well, because we see in the next 4 years these conditions, I can anticipate it's going to be closed, versus saying, okay, well, there's going to be these other variables that they consider that I don't know about. So that's where I'd like us to have some more thought, is how do we continue to articulate this? If we have in our mind these possibilities, if we have how we're going to look at the future, there's always a way to quantify that. And I really want predictability as we go forward. So I think we've made a lot of progress, and I like this, but I think that open area is what you just said. How do we look forward? Are we looking forward on a 1-year basis, which I wouldn't suggest? Is it a 4-year basis? Are we looking at a 5-year trend? What are we looking for to apply this to? So maybe if it were, if this happens within X number of years, then it triggers this. So I'd like to see that continue to evolve, because I think that parents should be able to figure it out and anticipate. So when their kids are in middle school, they can be looking and saying, okay, well, the likeliness is I'm not going to have this opportunity, or I am going to have this opportunity. Thanks.
I have a question. Going back to the color codes, what we talked about last night, I kind of question clarification. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the gray really now belongs between orange and red. Is that correct? So like the key might be should be updated.
Yes,
Okay.
I should move it
Okay.
down, yeah.
Just because and so it's really not above target, it's kind of just closing in above capacity or something
Yeah.
like that, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, because that was confusing for me last night. And then the other question I have, and we can maybe discuss it later, is, so the last meeting, we asked for a map that included Campus Oak and Wood Creek, and then part of Crocker Ranch and Roseville High School, and we don't have it, so I'm wondering why.
Yes, so we looked at the numbers. We thought it was going to work out really well, or could work out. The more we dug into it, the actual numbers, the numbers at Campus Oaks were a lot higher than we thought, especially going out over the next 5 years. And so when we looked at that, we also received a lot of feedback about the canal. And the more we looked at the canal being a barrier, I think that posed a challenge for families not really knowing, if you're, I think Tiffany made a comment, you can miss it. And so having families that, well, you go to Wood Creek if you're west of the canal or east of the canal, that could be some confusion. And then we did talk to a board member too separately and made the decision that it didn't seem like that scenario was feasible. And so that's where
Okay,
we,
so what we thought might be an even swap
Swap
wasn't really an
Correct.
even swap. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's why we don't have it.
correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Pete's question, and this, I think I'm asking more to explain to the public perhaps, but can you explain, Melanie, a little bit about what reasons someone can get a transfer? Or, like, if a school is open, let's say that it's, I'm going back to your chart, which I love, by the way, Joe, the color-coded chart. But if a school is completely open, then can someone essentially transfer for any reason? Or can you kind of go through that just a little
Yeah.
bit so people understand?
So for an intra-district transfer, which is for our families that live in Roseville Joint. So you would be an intra if you are in Roseville Joint. There's 3 criteria, so it's grades, behavior, and attendance. So as long as you meet the expectations that we have set within board policy on your grades, behavior, attendance, then you can qualify for a transfer. Does that answer questions?
Yes, I think so. So if a school is open,
Right, and then
Grades,
there has,
behavior,
a
attendance.
valid reason needs to be listed on
Okay.
the transfer. So you could technically qualify, but you pick a reason such as, let's just say it, athletics.
Mm-hmm.
We are not going to accept a transfer based on athletics. So you'd have to either transfer into a program that's at that school that's not available at your resident school. So that's the majority of the transfers that we get is, for example, a student at Roseville might want to go to Oakmont to do IB. So Roseville does not have an IB program, Oakmont does. We have a lot of kids that go back and forth between Roseville and Oakmont. It almost equals each other out, the amount that want to go from Roseville to Oakmont, Oakmont to Roseville. So there needs to be, and on the transfer application form, there are lists of reasons.
okay,
And so it would need to be a valid reason, and you need to qualify.
okay, thank you. That's it.
I'm just going to make a comment. Marla, thank you for bringing up the scenario that I brought up at our last meeting, and that was in a desire. I know that our communities, we're getting the same message from all of our communities that are being affected. They love their neighbors, they love their neighborhood, they want to stick with their cohort, and in a desire to see if maybe there was just one other scenario we could look at to make that happen. I threw that out there, and I appreciate that the board and staff gave us a few more days to consider that. For me, with some more consideration, some more emails, some more thought, I felt like, you know what, that isn't the best path to go down. And sometimes you have to walk a couple steps down a path that's not going to be the best to know that, oh, this isn't the best path. And so I appreciate that everybody gave us the time to do that. Joe did talk with me, and I agreed that the 2 scenarios before us today are the best 2. So thanks for bringing that up, and thank you, everybody, for being willing to explore that option.
Any questions, Bill? No? Okay, so at this time, we will open it up to anyone with public comment, and I'll do a final call for everyone who was able to turn in their cards, and I'm going to do a double check, but I think we're at exactly 10. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Oh my gosh, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I just wanted to confirm. So we have 10 speaker cards, which will be a 90-second timer, and Kim is going to help me out today with a buzzer. I was a little lax last week on the 90 seconds, I fully admit. I was letting people go over, but some people were shorter, so it all balanced out. So we have a little bit of reinforcement for me today. I appreciate that, Kim. So 1.5 minutes. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to call off the first three names, same as last time, and then I'll kind of cue you up. So first is going to be Debbie Betancourt, and then Greg Betancourt, and then Steve Yee. And just state your name. I might mispronounce some of them, so state your name for the record, and we are ready. Make sure that. I don't think it's on. There you
There
go.
we
Now you got it.
Okay, thank you. 350 row right there. I'm speaking on behalf of Sylvie Betancourt, who is at work right now. Thank you for adding Proposal B. We appreciate that you heard our voices last week. It is about student community, subdivision longevity, and safety. We live in the Vineyard neighborhood, 350, built in the late 80s, and attended Wood Creek when it first opened in 1994. All the students in this neighborhood attend Silverado according to the Dry Creek boundary. With Proposal B, they will go on to Wood Creek with all of their middle school classmates. With Proposal A, they would be the only students from Silverado to be moved to Oakmont, a small group of 8th graders, probably 12 to 15. All other students attending Silverado would go to Wood Creek. This is a disservice to students that spend 3 important years playing sports and bonding in their middle school. The impact that would have on their emotional well-being should be considered. We currently have 3 high schoolers attending Wood Creek. Sylvia is a speech language pathologist with the Roseville City School District and has to be at work at 7:20 due to the recent state-mandated high school schedule change. Because of this, she cannot drive children to school. They ride their bikes every day. Wood Creek High School is 1.6 miles from her home. Oakmont is 3.9 miles away. Besides the distance, we would never allow our children to ride their bikes across the intersections of Kirby and Riverside, Kirby and Sunrise. It wouldn't be safe. Please vote for Proposal B. We do have confidence that Oakmont will attract students from outside the district as you continue to add programs like kinesiology to complement your health services program, AI, architecture, graphic design, and other programs which bring new students and dollars to the district, and possibly even an internship at the district office. Thank you.
Thank you. That was pretty good. It's like 5 seconds.
I'm from the 350 Vineyard neighborhood and appreciate the consideration for our neighborhood staying at Wood Creek with Proposal B. I'm here with extreme gratitude right now. As parents, ensuring your child is growing up in a stable, predictable environment with good friends is one of the most important things we can do. The following comments are in opposition to Proposal A. Oakmont is a great school, and I don't want to downplay that school. I completely understand that education at Oakmont is great. However, as a parent, I look at my child's life holistically and systematically, not purely academically. Another major issue is the logistics of getting to Oakmont. It's nearly twice the distance and takes 3 times as long with major intersections. It is unsafe for a 14-year-old daughter to walk or bike this path. As full-time working parents, we cannot get our daughter to and from Oakmont. We chose our home in the Wood Creek boundary 11 years ago because it is a quick bike ride from home. We already have 3 children that would have gone through Wood Creek. Changing schools would disrupt our work schedules and family dynamics, causing us parents to work swing shifts or different schedules, taking away from important quality family time when our youngest starts high school. Proposal B only delays reaching green levels at Wood Creek and Oakmont by 1 year, and in return allows a couple dozen families and children to maintain community, vital relationships, parents' careers, quality family time, and the ability for these kids to participate in before and after school activities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Steve. After Steve is going to be Kathleen, and then Tim.
Good morning. My name is Steve Yeh. We live on Broken Spoke Lane, just east of Fittiment Road and west of Angus Road in the Fittiment Ranch area, identified as 460B, if I could focus your attention in that area. We are currently zoned for West Park High School. We currently have a rising sophomore at Cooley Middle, or rising sophomore at West Park, and a son who's a rising 7th grader at Cooley Middle School under the current boundaries, would enter West Park High School as a freshman in 28-29. If the proposed boundaries change as adopted as written, our son would instead be required to attend Wood Creek High School in 28-29 with no opportunity to transfer to West Park High School, as the proposal explicitly states. The result would be that our children who live in the same household and who are currently on the same West Park pathway would be forced to attend separate high schools. This is at the heart of our request. Please do not separate our children. We are not a family living outside of the West Park attendance boundary seeking to use the transfer process so that a younger sibling may later follow an older sibling. We live in a neighborhood that is currently assigned to West Park High School, and our oldest child is already at West Park. As I mentioned, as I understand the proposal, our small pocket of Fittyment Ranch would be the only currently developed area now zoned for West Park. It would be reassigned in a way that would separate younger siblings from older siblings already attending West Park. That makes the impact on families like ours especially significant, and I hope worthy of a narrow and compassionate solution. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Kathleen.
Good morning, I'm Kathleen Ye. I also live on Broken Spoke Lane in 460B. We moved into our community and purchased our home in 2014 with the understanding that our children would attend West Park High School. As residents and taxpayers, we also contributed through our property taxes towards the development and construction of West Park High School, like so many of our neighbors. We have long viewed West Park as our neighborhood high school and an important part of the community we chose to join. Separating siblings across different high schools creates real burdens for families, including transportation, scheduling, and the loss of a shared high school experience. More importantly, it disrupts the continuity and the sense of belonging that families reasonably expected when they chose to live in this attendance area. For that reason, we respectfully ask the board to preserve and extend sibling grandfathering so that younger siblings of students already attending West Park High School may continue to attend West Park, including incoming freshmen in the 28-29 school year. I want to emphasize that this is not a request for a discretionary transfer option. A transfer is uncertain, and under the proposal appears to be unavailable in 28-29. What families like ours need is clear grandfathering protection that affirmatively allows siblings in the same household to remain together at the same high school. Please do not separate our children. Thank you for your time, your service, and your thoughtful consideration of the impact that these decisions will have on our families. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Tim. After Tim is Melissa, and then John.
Hello. It doesn't move. Okay. Thank you, guys. I know this is tough for all of you to do this. You're all parents as well. I'm part of that Vineyard community as well, but on the other side of Brady, that all goes to Silverado. There's probably 3 kids in reality that go to Silverado that'll now be moved to Oakmont. We bought and built in that neighborhood knowing that we'd go to Wood Creek. My kids they cheer for Wood Creek Junior Timberwolves. They play football for Timberwolves. They play Little League for Wood Creek. Be hard for my 7th grader to then split from all his friends and then have to go to Oakmont by himself. But thank you for consideration. Hope you guys still are looking at the boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Chambers, and then John Fensky.
Good morning, I'm Melissa Chambers. I'm here on behalf of the Campus Oaks neighborhood. We were able to put a petition together with 115 signatures asking that you keep looking at options that would include our neighborhood in the Wood Creek boundary. Our top 2 issues, I'll start with the first is transportation. Right now, our kids can ride bikes, scooter, walk. It's just a straight shot down Wood Creek Oaks to get to the high school. If this were to change to Roseville, it would require busing, which I'm sure is a large expense. And it would also require a walk or a ride that most parents would not allow. This also would pose a challenge for families in our neighborhood that have multiple children that are also trying to pick up, drop off from Blue Oaks and from Cooley. It would also pose difficulties with extracurricular activities that our children are trying to participate in. The second item that I wanted to discuss was keeping our community together, and I just wanted to, point out that it's not just about having the same best friend that you had in kindergarten, having them in high school, but also that it's important. academically and socially, that there are better outcomes when our children stay together. This is especially important for neurodivergent children, which I myself have 3 children with ADHD. It is also important for caregivers to have the support that they need, that we have developed networks for carpooling, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you. After John Fensky is Laura Bullard, and then Sarah Dugan.
Hi, good morning. Pleasure to see everybody here. My name is John Fensky. I'm a 40-plus year loyalist to the Dry Creek area. Both my daughters go to Wood Creek. They both walk to school, or actually from school, quite a bit. I'm here to speak in opposition to the redistricting of the areas to the north of Vineyard, between Vineyard and Baseline. I have 3 points I'd like to make about this. The first one is I don't understand how you could lump in. I have a feeling that they lumped in all of Dry Creek together just out of kind of convenience. Oh, it's Dry Creek, let's put it together. The difference between Dry Creek, for people who live there, to the south of Vineyard and the north of Vineyard is like San Francisco and Wyoming or something. South or north of the Vineyard area is a largely rural area. It has the fewest, I'm confident it has the fewest students per acre. They're people who've been there over 50 years. They tend to be elderly. They tend to be World War II vets as neighbors. They're not rich. All their wealth is in their land. And so the redistricting to Oakmont will affect property values and will affect their only source of wealth, okay? And that's point number one. And I just don't see the cost benefit. Point number two is about the cost and benefit. The cost to these people in decreased property values for a benefit of very few students. I have no idea how many. I don't know if how many live to the west of Brady, but not very many, but it's a large area, and it's a very rural area, and it's right next to Wood Creek High School. And so I just think the cost to these people is more significant than the benefit of any kind of an increased attendance you'll get to Oakmont. And third, oh, I'm out of time. My third benefit is just the issue of fairness. When you look at the map, you want to make sure that everybody's going to be mad what you decide, right? And trust me, I understand what you guys are going through. You just want to have the perception of fairness where the commute time is the smallest possible.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Laura, and then Sarah.
Good morning. The last time I was in the boardroom, it wasn't like this at all. Again, Laura Bullard, and the deal is that I grew up just off of Baseline or whatever, so that area from Vineyard North or whatever, the little Dry Creek Central Committee or area. I went to Roseville High School. I later taught for 7 years at Roseville. When Wood Creek opened, I moved to Wood Creek in order to stay with my Dry Creek students or whatever. Now I own that home that is there. I take care of my almost 96-year-old mom. My son, who has now moved back to the area and actually will be or could actually get a job in the district. He's working at Silverado right now. He is a medical biology teacher, an awesome basketball coach. So the reality is someday he will be in that area. I would not want my grandchildren making this freaking commute from that house over to here. I had to come through this morning, 14 stoplights, okay? That's a little much, okay? Plus the added traffic and everything else. Could have made it just a little zip or whatever over to Wood Creek. Even going to Roseville would have been easier, okay? By the way, you guys didn't send out something to all of the residents, okay, to let us know that this boundary stuff. I just happened to hear it because somebody put it out to me the other day, okay? So again, what we used to say, students are the center of everything we do. Sending students and traffic safety, seriously, all that way, you're going to kill our students, okay? Plus the added, problems or whatever, just getting back and forth for athletics, et cetera. So please keep Vineyard North in Wood Creek, okay, because we need it.
Thank you. All right, Sarah, and then Leah is last.
Hi, nice to see you all. I am addressing you also on behalf of that area. And also this was my PE teacher from high school. So that was really cool to hear. My husband and I are both proud graduates of Wood Creek High School. Hopefully here we have a future Timberwolf. And after building our careers and lives in San Diego, we chose to move back to the Wood Creek area to raise our sons so that they could grow up in the same close-knit community that shaped us. We purchased in Brady Vineyard because it was assigned to Wood Creek. Our feeder schools are Heritage Oak and Silverado Middle School, as others have mentioned, and our home is just 1.5 miles from Wood Creek. The entire side of Vineyard has been zoned for Wood Creek dating back decades to when the school first opened. This is not about one school being better than the other. My mother attended Oakmont, and my grandfather attended Roosevelt High School. These are all excellent schools. This is more about community continuity. Under the current pathway, our sons would attend elementary and middle school with the same peers and continue together through high school. Under this proposal, they'll be separated from their friends and sent across town, despite Wood Creek being significantly closer to our neighborhood. What is especially difficult to understand is that some newly built neighborhoods already assigned elsewhere and purchased with those boundaries fully known are now being proposed for reassignment into Wood Creek, while Brady Vineyard is being moved out. Wood Creek is very personal for us. I was editor of the school newspaper. My husband played water polo and swam there. And many of our closest friends are fellow alumni who have also moved back to raise their families there together. Last year, the Wood Creek water polo community even organized an alumni fundraiser for cancer research after one of their teammates beat cancer. People came back. Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
time. It didn't go. I was waiting for it. All right, thank you. And then Leah.
Hello, my name is Leah Georgiou. I live at Vineyard Surroundings, District 350. All the Silverado kids are going to Wood Creek High School, and only the kids from District 350 will go to Oakmont High School. Proposal B will bring the kids together. Also, it is about safety and distance. Wood Creek is a lot closer from our neighborhood. My daughter can bike to Wood Creek High School, but there is no way she can bike to Oakmont High School. It is too dangerous. It is not about choosing the best high school. It is about friendships and safety and community. Please consider proposal B. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will bring it back to the board for any additional comments or questions. Start with
Can
trustee.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Pete.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
just saw his
Yeah,
hand
go
first,
ahead.
sorry.
Just a few things. First, I want to say that, at the last meeting, there was pressure to vote on maps that were sort of constructed on the dais, and I pushed back, and it was made fairly clear that other people were comfortable to move forward, and I wasn't, and I said that, and I wanted the analysis that we got, because not always do things come out as we may think, and that's the reason we have staff to do all the extra work. So I appreciate the fact that we were able to hold off, because I really didn't feel comfortable at that vote, and I think had we done it, there would have been regrets. So thank you for that. Just a couple comments. I think based on our transfer proposals that we have here, the red, orange, yellow, green, and then the grandfathering proposal that we have, I do think that situations like the one we heard about with a sibling at a school and another sibling rising up, those are areas where our intent, I think the board has made it clear that our intent is to honor that. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my voice today. Honor that whenever possible. And I think that's something that our staff can continue to work on to ensure that we have that. Now, when we get those times, fortunately on this, the one that I think we're leaning to, there's no red on that chart. And so that gives me hope that when we have those situations that we'll be able to accommodate them. Obviously, when we get over capacity, that makes things more difficult. So I think that's something we just should continue so that parents can have certainty. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Whether it's yes or no, the sooner we can let people know so they can plan what they want to do, the better. And again, I just want to reiterate, I'm pretty sure based on what I've heard from us here, our intent is to have a grandfathering policy that works in conjunction with our transfer policy to serve our families as best that we can. So I just wanted to make sure I said that out loud. I think that's it. I know that it doesn't matter what neighborhood we move, there are issues. And it's really hard in situations like this to not impact people, because our goal in doing this was to make changes. We had to make changes, and whenever you draw a line, there's some people on one side of it, there's other people on the other side of it. And we heard, from a lot of people throughout this process, and I'll just reiterate some points I made at the last meeting. It's not just about overcapacity. It's really about undercapacity too. And we've had situations like at Oakmont where we got so low that we couldn't offer the full complement of educational options for our students. And that poses a significant problem for the district, but really for the kids and the families and the opportunities that are missed. So I think as we move forward and we get to a point where the numbers hit our goal, and that is to not have red on the map. Not map, I'm sorry, not map, but the spreadsheet. The orange, just given the way our district was historically built, they built and put schools where they thought they should be based on the information they had at their time, and things have changed wildly in Roseville and our surrounding areas for quite a while. But really, the option to do nothing is not an option, because we have to do it for all of our students. And I know it stinks driving, and I don't know if everyone was here last time, but for 10 years, we drove our kids from literally right next door to West Park to Oakmont. And with 4 kids in high school, with 4 different extracurricular activities, 4 different sets of sports, sometimes we would make 5 round trips a day. Just thank God kids can drive at 16, because that made our life a little bit easier. So we know the issues. I promise I'm not getting emotional. It's something else with my voice. We know that these decisions have significant impact on the kids and the families, and I think we heard very eloquently from our student board members at the last meeting about their observations and their lived experiences in going to different schools at different times. So with that, I think we're on the right path. Thanks, staff, for slowing things down, doing the analysis, continuing to optimize our process. And I have confidence as we move forward, we'll get more clarity, more certainty on the transfer process, the grandfathering process, and things of that nature. So thank you all very much.
Can I ask a clarifying question on scenario B? And I should have brought this up before, I just made some assumptions. Does 331.1 and 331.2 also, are they also included in scenario B? They may not know what I'm talking about, that jagged part, so that actually follows the true Silverado boundary, not just Brady. So there's a few houses to the west of Brady. You know what I'm talking about, Joe? Does scenario B, it does not?
John, do you remember which those areas, the 331? I'll have to look them up.
It's the neighborhood right across from 350. We don't have it as a code. It's Dry Creek's, it's 350.1 or something along those lines, but it's a little L.
Yeah, it's
Remember that
just
reversed
confusing
L
because
we
it's
talked
not
about?
on the grid codes, but I know it's part of the Silverado boundary, and I've made the assumption that just all of the Silverado families were part of that.
Well, it is and it isn't, because then you also go further south.
I know, there's
Yeah,
that.
So then there's the Oakmont group down south of it as well, so that's the challenge there.
Well, and I knew that was a cutoff, but.
But that does
the
do a
funny-
reverse
The funny
L.
shape, the funny shape, I've just assumed that was part of it, but I shouldn't have. And so are they not?
I'll have to confirm. I can.
Okay.
I have to go double check.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I know, it's a straight line.
It's a straight line.
Yeah, remember that
down
was the
350.
Pinot Grigio, Pinot
Yeah.
Noir streets over there.
Yeah. So with the way we had it with our demographer, 350 doesn't include that.
It
So-
does not, okay.
Martha, are you talking about 353A and 355A?
No.
No.
No, I don't know if you have a map that you can show, Joe.
Yeah,
but
it essentially would be at the very east part of
if you
331A.
show like Dry Creek's boundary, if you go onto their website, they would have it jogged out.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah, if you could put up proposal B.
Silverado
I see.
has a little jog,
Okay,
and not a straight line.
There you go. It's those streets right there. It's those, yeah, those little squiggly lines in the right green.
Yeah, but the whole rest of that whole section should be. That's
okay. So that little neighborhood then goes to the same middle school as 350A. Is that what you're saying, Marla?
Yes, and I think,
Okay.
and I got those numbers from you a couple weeks ago, Joe, which, there's so many papers, you guys. Let me, okay, so, forgive me. We did talk about it, but you didn't have the breakdown from the demographers. Now I'm looking at my notes, and you didn't have the breakdown of how many kids were in those sections. Okay.
Okay, and do 350, I'm sorry, do 330A and 331A, they all go to Creekview? Or which middle school is the rest of the purple? Creekview.
Creekview Ranch.
Right, which is the same middle.
and there's gonna be a change for Dry Creek counties.
Right,
The neighborhood you're talking about today, yes, goes to Herijo and it goes to Silverado. That little squiggly line.
the little squiggly that she's asking about.
331.2.
Yeah, correct. That's the neighborhood.
Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, and I know you had questions too. Go ahead.
Yes, a couple questions and then maybe a couple thoughts. Would you, Joe, clarify the busing? I think that's come up a few times. If a family, would you tell us what that busing policy is? How far away families would need, where that cutoff is?
Yeah, so our current policy is 3 miles. So if within 3 miles, it's considered either walking or easily dropping off distance for families. But we provide busing beyond 3 miles. There are a few scenarios where it may be a little less than 3 miles, but it's not a real safe distance. But this is 3 miles via the roads, not just if there's a straight line, but if the path is 3 miles.
And would 350, where does that fall?
350 would be, it would be a bus to Oakmont for
Okay.
350, yes.
Okay,
We have busing already out there for like Morgan Creek and the areas to the west. And so areas, if we were to add, we often have a bus route, and so it's just adding another stop.
okay, thank you. And then I appreciate, along with Pete, I think it's important to clarify the grandfathering. It was my understanding that if a sibling was already attending a high school, that their younger siblings would automatically get in. So we are not in any way, in my understanding, talking about ever splitting a family into 2 high schools. Is that correct?
Currently, no. West Park is completely closed.
Even
And
if they have a sibling there?
Yes.
Okay,
So because we've had students that had intras when we were open, and so they don't live in the West Park neighborhood at this point, and so they would want their sibling to go, it's closed to them.
Okay.
So right now, you have to live in the West Park boundaries to be able to go to West Park.
okay. But, okay, thank you. And then I did want to address the communication that we've had with our community. And I wanted, maybe if Tony, you could speak to how we got the word out.
Yeah, so we dissected and used a radio.
Can you come?
Gotta come to the mic.
So all the areas that were mentioned, so we're talking about Vineyard Community, the far up to Crocker Ranch, I'm gonna look at the map while I talk to you guys, and then also in the Campus Oaks area, and then even further up to the West Park area. We all targeted those grade codes specifically, and we sent it out multiple times. So I think the fourth time was last Friday, was the last communication. So we sent that out to all the families that were impacted and then pre-enrolled students.
No, we did not get any. I have no kids there, but I should have, as a property owner, gotten.
And maybe you could clarify that we can only really send to families that are already in our district, because we don't have,
Correct.
that was my understanding, because we don't have a way to communicate to the other families. We don't have their preferred communication.
Yes, correct. What Trustee Coleman said is families who are in the district, we have communication with. We have their emails or contacts, so we're able to send that to them. Whereas families who are maybe our feeder school districts, we don't. However, we do have pre-enrolled students, so students who are coming to our district next year, so current 8th graders, we can communicate with them because we have their information ready because we're preparing for the next school year.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. And this is on the fly for you, but about how many community emails do you feel like have come in or input?
At this point, we're close to a little between, I think, 50 to 60 at least. And yeah, around there.
Okay.
And we've responded to every single one. Yeah, whether it's from myself, the board, or even district officials, the cabinet. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll just add, I won't go into my whole review that I did last time, just sharing with the community the process that we've been going through as a district for over a year now on the boundaries that we've been talking about. Just to know that we have been very intentional, very thoughtful. There has been significant input that has gone in, and I just want to express thanks again to the staff and our community for their input. And if you need to know more about that, you can go back and look at the last meeting or talk to us later. Again, we've heard a consistent message from all families in these neighborhoods that there will be neighborhoods that are affected. And the consistent message that I've seen in these emails, that you almost don't even need to look at what neighborhood they're emailing about, because they're the same message, which is, we love our neighborhood, we love our community, we want to be close to schools. That those are completely valid and reasonable desires. And that's the same that all the communities are expressing. And several of these smaller communities that have come to us, even ones that we're not talking about today, on their own, they are smaller numbers. But combined, it makes up a large number that really affects our enrollment at our school sites. And so I acknowledge that when you're in a community and you think our numbers are small, it's true, but the combination of all of it is what makes the difference. So I appreciated the thoughts from our fellow board members at our last meeting, as well as our student representatives, as they talked about this process, and they were so positive about all of our schools, which I think I've heard from all of you as well. And I acknowledge that our decisions are going to be disappointing for someone, and that's just the reality of having to make a decision, and for us being the leaders in the position that have to make that decision. So I do believe that staff has presented 2 really good proposals for us today, and I feel confident that one of these proposals will be the one that we need to move forward with, and I look forward to that, to having that discussion about with the rest of the board about the Vineyard neighborhood and get your opinions on that.
I have a couple comments, Heidi. So if you weren't here at the last meeting, I'm a resident of Dry Creek community, been there 18 years. We're in the Oakmont attendance boundaries, and at the time, we could have sought an intra-district transfer to Wood Creek, which was closer, but we heard a lot of good things about Oakmont and decided to stay there. We did utilize bus transportation, which also included after-school activity buses. So if our daughters did tennis after school, I think if it was a safety issue, we wouldn't have went to Oakmont, but we didn't have those concerns. And our kids went to Creekview Ranch, which ended up splitting to multiple sites. I think there were maybe a handful that came actually to Oakmont, but I totally get wanting to keep our kids together, our friends together. but they ultimately find their communities wherever they end up landing. And ours did, through sports or other programs. So I also want to reiterate that our original goal in looking at this was originally brought about by, overcrowding, particularly on the west side. But we also were taking into account our under capacity sites, including Oakmont, and the need to be able to sustain programs there. And as a school district, our primary source of revenue is from the state, and that's based on enrollment. And to the extent we have not enough students at any given site, it impacts our ability to provide equivalent type facilities or programs that we have at all of our other sites. And I encourage you to look back at our study session we did back on June 10th, 2025, where we went into detail what all of our sites had as far as programming and offerings. And, that's a great kind of source for all the great things we've got going on at all of our sites. So in the Plan B that's been brought today, I really appreciate, the specific numbering. And I know we talked about we're at 350, we're dealing with 50 kids, which that's not that many kids, but that is a lot of revenue for that site, and it equals out, I don't know, a couple teachers worth that we could have at that site. But in looking at the numbers, it keeps Oakmont in the white category under capacity for delays getting into green for another year. And that's looking at not getting into green until that 31, 32 year. So based on that 1 year delay, and I'm comfortable with that plan and that proposal to keep 350 with Wood Creek. We'll find other ways. Oakmont's going to have a new pool, a new classroom in the works, and hoping that combined with our IB program and our healthcare academy will help balance out those numbers and maybe transfer issues down the road. But with that, I think I'm comfortable with B, given that we are going to be in the green. It's going to be a 1 year delay on that. And I just want to commend staff for all the hard work that has gone into this for over a year process that we've been going through this and studying it, with that goal of really having no red and getting into the green at our sites or better. And I do want to mention, I appreciate all the comments we've gotten, whether it's been at these public board meetings or emails. We have listened to you and we've read those. And I appreciate the understanding of most everybody indicating that this is a really hard decision, but it's something we don't take lightly, and we want to do it right and not have to do it for a long time from now. We inherited this from an existing board and maps that we had no control over, and with the growth that we've had, it's been probably unpredictable even then, but if you live here, you've seen the growth. But with that, I just thank you so much.
Can I piggyback on Bill? So I'll preface this, I'm not sure where everyone's landing. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think there's just nuances and what you're prioritizing. Looking at the numbers when you, at scenario B, well, actually, I'm going to go backwards. Scenario A, if we pulled Vineyard out, Wood Creek could accept transfers. And quite honestly, I suspect all of you in Vineyard will request a transfer to Wood Creek. And we would accept them because there was space. And ultimately, we're not doing anything other than causing a lot of headache and separating the Silverado students in that one little section. I think the numbers for scenario B do support that we can handle scenario B. And so I've been going back and forth, but I've from day one have said that to pull students from their cohort from middle school, we have to have a really good reason, and I can't justify it in the numbers right now. I would like to ask about the 3.3, I already forgot again, the 331.1, just going on the idea of trying to keep the Silverado students together above, I don't have the road, sorry, I'm in East Roseville. Oh, whew. So and I understand there is a small footprint to the south of Vineyard, but to keep the Silverado kids together north of Vineyard. Yes, I'm looking, yeah, I was looking for road names. The Vineyard. So, and I know that it's not the map that we have in front of us, and we don't have the demographer numbers, but I would also be in favor of including those small jagged 331.2 and 331.1s. And that's not a motion, I was just sharing my opinion.
So in the Vineyard area, a couple of thoughts. There actually is on the south side of Vineyard, those students have always gone to Oakmont, and those students do go to Silverado. So there are some neighborhoods there that go to Silverado, and they've always gone to Oakmont. So that's, am I correct in that, Joe? We're not talking about moving them. We're talking about, the proposal doesn't include moving them to Wood Creek. It's just moving keeping the 350 in Wood Creek.
Yes, that's the current proposal.
So I am very empathetic to the neighborhood, those Vineyard neighborhoods. I do see a strong case for moving 350 to Oakmont. There are other Silverado students that go to Oakmont. I feel that it is the best in our numbers. It doesn't then over-impact Wood Creek, and it adds our numbers to Oakmont. And it gives us those, so it reaches our goal of balancing enrollment in our schools and also utilizing some clean roadways where we can. I'm still on the fence, but I feel like I'm leaning more to asking Vineyard to go to Oakmont, to buoy up Oakmont, and to not overburden Wood Creek.
I'm going to change topics really quick. And is there any other comments on the Vineyard 350A? Okay. I want to ask about 460B, and that is the West Park, the little blue part. Do you know, Joe, how many students that is?
Yeah, I could look it up. It's about 50, somewhere around there. It's going to be growing, but there's some apartment complexes and some houses that are to the east of Fitiment. So if you give me a minute, I can get the
Okay,
exact
so it's
number.
not completely built out. 460B.
I don't want to speak for you, Joe, but I think 460B, well, maybe I'll let you look it up. You gave me some numbers a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I was going to look it up, but if you have those numbers.
I wrote down 150 is what you gave me in 460B.
Yeah, I think it's because there's density considered there. So right now, there's not a lot, but in the out years, there are. And there are a couple of reasons for choosing Fitiment. One was the logical boundary, the keeping the areas as compact as possible, and then the long-term growth. And it really significantly changes those outward years. And the one thing we haven't talked about today that we talked about in previous sessions is the magnitude of the inaccuracy of demographer numbers. And they are always on the shy side, and everything that we've seen, whether it's Roseville's projections when they did their boundaries, Roseville cities, whether it was Roseville cities when they were doing the building of their schools out in the west side, or the city of Roseville when they were establishing their maps, the demographer numbers have always been significantly lower. One of the reasons is, anecdotally, my personal reason or belief of why the reason is Roseville's such a family-friendly city. We just produce more people per acre because of the type of people that have been, like me and others that have been attracted to our city. We're larger families, a lot more kids, and it's readily apparent when you go out in that West Park area, the Fitiment Farms area. We just generate a lot of numbers out here.
Right, okay, I just was curious.
It is about 150. Thank you for giving me some
Okay.
time to look it up. It's about 150 students there right now.
Right now, Okay, okay. I think, I mean, I shared a lot last week already. I'm torn about all of it, and I feel like we're trying to make decisions a little bit based on feeder districts, but the feeder districts could change, likely will change. The only thing that is constant in life, no pun intended, the only thing that's constant in life is change, right? I was talking to someone the other day who grew up in Rockland, who went to Roseville High because that was the closest school, and he rode his bike from Rockland to Roseville High, and of course, there was no traffic, and it was a, you know, pretty much a straight shot. But, you know, 30 years have gone by, and there's a lot of change. I'm still also, more than anything, worried that the demographer numbers aren't quite accurate, only just because we've seen that and experienced that. And then I get hung up on things like, we're saying we want to keep, you know, middle schools together, which I completely agree with. We also want to cut down travel and distance, but then we have weird inconsistencies within our own maps around that, particularly in the east, which I completely get. The green is to keep all our feeder districts together, but we have kids that live right by Oakmont that go to Granite Bay. And so there's no perfect scenario. And we're trying to balance friendships and community with distance and safety and travel. And so I think I'm hung up a little bit on transfer policy. A perfect scenario with this 460B and the sibling, you know, could there be something where we do grandfather in the communities who already live there now? See, that's just really messy though. But we have growth that's coming, but I feel like that growth that's coming, as long as they know, okay, you're zoned for, where are we? Roseville? I don't even know where. Yeah, they're zoned for Wood Creek now.
Wood Creek now.
But if you were already there and purchased, and you have a sibling, right? You know, if there's certain criteria, is there a way to give priority transfer status?
And I
I'm
think,
just throwing out ideas.
I think that's what we talked about with the grandfathering policy, and I know, myself included, we've kind of used those languages interchangeably, but they're distinctly different. And the transfer policy is one level, and the grandfathering policy sits on top. And it's one thing, and a transfer policy is something that is universal and lasts a long time. And the grandfathering policy that sits on top during times of transition to ensure that there's family continuity and consistency. And I think that we expressed that as we were talking about the grandfathering policy. In my conversation with staff, that's the intent. And I think that as long as staff knows that that is our, that the board supports that and wants that, they can continue to work on that language to ensure, because the grandfathering policy has a short time frame. We know that the age of a student in high school, hopefully, is not going to be more than 4 years. 5 years if, you know, but 4 years. And so there's a little bit of predictability in that, so we can look at that. And I didn't mean any of your kids were going to take 5 years. But, you know, it's one of those things that it's a shorter duration in time. And then since I butted in when I shouldn't have, I'll just say, we also have to be conscious of the fact that of our feeder middle schools, the majority of them go to different high schools as they leave. So we're not really creating a new problem or a new situation.
All right.
Yeah, so President Hall, in our last meeting, we had a slide in there for the proposed grandfathering, and it answers that question for 27, 28, or I don't know, Adrian, do you have last week's meeting to put up? Do you have that with you? Now we could show that slide. I think it's slide 11, just so everyone has a visual. Because from a staff perspective, our intention was for the grandfathering aspect to happen. So if a sibling, when this initiates in 27, 28, if a student is currently attending one of our schools that's in transition, the siblings could follow. It's only when the siblings are out that and then all new students would go to the new school. So there's the slide there you can see. It's very similar to when we open a new school. It's the exact same process when we open a new school in terms of the grandfathering, the busing, and so on and so forth.
So can I ask a question about the proposed grandfathering? Because it sounds like we're grandfathering for the 27, 28 year, but the 28, 29 year, we're not.
We would be. That's just really talking about incoming the new students. Like if you don't have siblings, those students.
Okay, so if there
Yeah.
was, so it's almost like
Yeah.
you still need that second bullet, the incoming
Right.
freshmen will be able to remain. That needs to be.
If a sibling currently attends,
Okay,
yeah.
so we need
We just
that
ran out of
extra-
slide
Okay,
space.
you ran out of space on the slide.
But
which
yes.
is- That was
Yeah.
addressing.
That's
your
always been
issue.
our plan with this. It's similar to when we open a new school, like when West Park opened, we still bused students from West Park if they wanted to stay at Oakmont. And some kids will choose to stay. And so we do offer that transition period. And it's usually about a 3-year period.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I think we need to be, language is always important, as you hear me always say. When we say currently, we can mean currently today or currently at the time, current at the time of application. So just make sure that that language is clear as we finalize it, because you can have a different situation. Someone might go there next year, not currently this year, and they have a sibling that year. So just current and currently aren't always meaning the same thing. So I just want to make sure it's nice and clean, understandable, and I think, as Marla said, adding the bullets in the right place so that it's a little bit more comprehensive, so that when you're looking at it, you can see, okay, I qualify, I don't qualify, I have this option, I don't have this option.
And that's the important part. Once an action is taken between Mel's office and Tony, that's what we have the whole transition year for, is to really make sure that is communicated and people understand what that process looks like.
Okay, and so then how would that work hypothetically? I'm just going to use you guys as an example, sorry. But let's say that they have a 5th grader right now. They have a 7th grader and a 5th grader. Now the 7th grader got in to West Park because their oldest student went to West Park. Hypothetically, then, does their youngest still get to go to West Park if the middle kid is still at West Park? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that would be a decision that would have to be made, because if we say grandfathering lasts 3 or 4 years, that would be past 3 or 4 years. But this is the issues that we deal with, that, you have a senior and then a freshman, and then by the time that freshman becomes a senior, there's another sibling. So
Right.
it could go on for years.
Right.
So it's just, those decisions would have to be made.
Okay.
And that's where the transfer policy comes in, where we suggested the red being closed to all, or, and so that depends
Okay.
on the capacity of the school as well.
Okay.
And I believe the grandfathering, we're talking about it now, but I think we'll finesse it, and really, that's not happening necessarily today. We're just addressing some of our ideas. And I would say on the grandfathering, personally, I think it should be throughout the lifetime of the family and not just a certain year. I actually, the difference between my oldest child and my youngest is 16 years. So I know what that's like to, have kids going through several years. So that would be my recommendation on that.
Yeah, and I think it's just important that we all make sure that our intentions are clear, what our expectations are, so staff knows to fulfill them. Because as we know from the past, when we make our intentions clear, they do a great job at following them. And I think you brought up a great point, Tiffany. You and I both have 5 kids. I did it in 5 years, you did it in 16 years. They're completely different circumstances, and the way the kids, what they want to do and don't want to do, are completely different. But I think the intent, at least from my personal perspective, and now I know from yours, is that we want to keep family traditions down the line if they're currently there, and you have this flow. The grandfathering is to, I don't want to say keep families together, but keep families, there's a continuity across the family. it doesn't mean that you give your house to your kid and then they get it for their lifetime, and they give it to their kid and they get it for their lifetime. But, you know, it's the reasonable expectation of this. And of course, we need to have a majority of us that think that, but I don't think that's a problem.
Any other questions? Any other comments? We can't ask questions from the audience, sorry.
I think with that, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt proposed scenario A. I recognize this takes out Vineyard, but I believe that overall it does for our numbers what we wanted to do, both in Wood Creek, not giving Wood Creek overcapacity, and providing enough enrollment for Oakmont High School. Also, the neighborhoods to the south of the Vineyard neighborhood go to Silverado, and they already go to Oakmont. I recognize that would be a disappointment if they accept this, if the rest of the board does. I don't know if they will or not, but that's my reasoning for choosing scenario A, is to address our primary goal of balancing enrollment across the sites and maintaining strong programs while utilizing clear roadways on the maps.
Well, I'll second it for purposes of discussion. I'm not sure if I'm ready to vote on it, but I want to make sure that we have a second so that we can have a discussion on it.
Does anyone have any discussion on it? I think I'm just torn about it, as I already said, because I feel like scenario B perhaps makes more sense in keeping those students together. But then if the middle schools change or the feeder districts change, then it doesn't matter. And we're then back to looking at the geography and the neat boundary that you speak to. So, and are we creating an issue? I'm a little worried too that we're creating an issue for Melanie where we just are gonna have more transfer requests for you, so.
Transfers always adjust to boundaries. So we will adjust to whatever boundaries are set, and we'll move forward.
I will just say, you know, my concerns or objectives in the beginning, I think were pretty clear. I do believe that using logical and physical boundaries so that boundaries are clear to understand are important. I think keeping the map areas as compact and contiguous as possible is really important. And I think achieving as close to the balance that we can achieve is really important. It's for those reasons that I would support this map, is because it hits those objectives. And I think it is better for the district in the long run as a whole. So that's why I seconded it, and I will likely vote for it due to those reasons.
I just had a comment related to that. So I telegraphed earlier that I'm really in favor of B, because I'm comfortable with delay to Oakmont of a year of getting into the green. And also, I know we've had one of the other factors we actually look at is community of interest, and it sounds like we have a strong community of interest in that 350 area. Vineyard, a long-established community, and so in that way, I'm more in favor of B.
I think using roads, major roads for lines makes sense in some cases. I think having some flexibility where you're taking into, ultimately, it's about our communities that we're serving. And so I hate to make decisions just based on a major road when I think families are more important than that. So I would just, but I understand what you're getting at. I think scenario B's numbers still support keeping 350 at Wood Creek. More realistically, we should be looking at how we can support Oakmont with their programs and what can be done to draw and keep the students that are already there or are already planned on being there based on these boundaries. But if you look at the numbers before transfers, Oakmont is a healthy school. They're just losing. They're losing students, and forcing a neighborhood to go into Oakmont when their home school has numbers to accept them, I'm struggling with that part, because ultimately I don't think many of those students will go because they will ask for transfers. So that's why I will support B.
And my final comment is I actually support both of them. I just think that A, if I go all the way back to the original principles, A is closest to that, but I'm equally comfortable with both. So my heart won't be broken if I lose this vote. I just, you're balancing issues, and there's a little bit more on this side and this side, and I think we're splitting hairs at this point from a policy perspective, not at all from a parent or family perspective. I definitely know the difference. That's why I could support either.
That's why I was saying that there is not a wrong map. I may be just weighing some other things that you're not, so.
Yep. So the vote on the floor is for map A. We will go down the row. Trustee Schutz.
No.
Trustee Coleman.
Yes.
Hall is no. And Franz?
No.
Constant?
So I'm a losing yes, and then I'm prepared to make another motion if you're ready.
Okay, so motion fails. 2-3? 3-2? Did I say that backwards?
2-3.
2-3.
Yeah.
And I hear a new motion on the floor is coming.
So I would then make a motion that we move forward with proposal B that has been presented today.
I'll second.
Can I make a amendment to add in 331.1 and 331.2 to align with the Silverado boundary that's north of Vineyard?
I don't want to accept that as a friendly motion, but obviously you can make it as a motion to amend, and we can deal with that.
Yes, that would be a motion to amend.
Marla, will you just clarify those, you said 331?
So if, I'm currently looking at the Dry Creek website.
I just want to make sure that we're not giving the impression that we're talking about 331A.
No, this is
or
331.1 and
Okay.
331.2 on the Dry Creek Elementary School District website, where they list, where they have all their school boundaries. They have a small carve-out, which I know that Joe and John are aware of, yet the demographer doesn't give us those numbers.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we're clear on which 331 we're talking about there. So, and you
I
have
guess
clarified it.
Someone
It's
can put
not
up Dry Creek's
Yeah.
boundary just so that it's
Let's get
clear
a
to the public.
let's get a second first, so we know if we're dealing with it.
We did.
I got a second on the original motion.
Oh, on the amended?
And then my amended, if there's a
Okay,
second.
I'll make a second on the amended.
So I just had a question on that. So I know we had a comment today of the community that lives just west of Brady in the existing community developments that's there. It's not a large one, it's relatively new compared to the other vineyard community that was discussed earlier. There is new development going up north of that, off of Brady. So the demographer's projections going forward, I assume, encompass that new development. So when we're talking about adding both of those sections, which I think you are.
So, well, then I have a question for you. Is 331.1, when I drove it, it looked empty, but I'm not sure. Is that where the new development is?
So theirs is south, the community that was discussed, commented on earlier, south of the church, Father's House Church.
That's 331.2.
I'm talking about the area north of that that's undeveloped. I mean, there's some houses, but then there's a new development going on south of the storage unit development there. So I don't know if that encompasses all
Joe,
of
can
that.
you pull up a map so we can look at that and understand what we're talking about there?
So are we saying that there's, so Bill, so 331.2, newer development, and I remember seeing that.
That's the one that's exist-
It's gated, and that's,
So was the amended motion to incorporate both of those?
I did include both, but if someone explains to me that 331.1 has a lot of new development coming, that has not been,
It's not built yet.
oh, so is that an
Yeah.
empty lot?
It's a big old property.
So
There's only
it's just-
one
it's just
house. There's
empty.
one parcel right now.
Okay.
Based on Dry Creek, it's one parcel. But its future development is
Okay, so
in
it's-
that plans, yeah.
So I guess have we clarified if we were to add that property, those two attendance areas here, how many total enrollment are we looking at, impact on Oakmont?
You had that number, I think.
No, actually, Joe did not have that number for me when we met.
Wasn't it on that?
For, like it was said earlier, our demographer has kept that separate, so there's 350, and then it has 330 and 331. But looking at and maybe someone from the audience knows, but in that, by the father's house, the 331.2, there are, I don't know, maybe 50 or so homes, so there's not a significant number of students, but, I could estimate maybe 10 high school students, somewhere around there.
I appreciate you guys, but it's really hard for us to hear during our discussion when you guys keep talking, and I'm struggling to hear. So we're in the point where it's board discussion, not community discussion. I apologize.
I realize it's a small risk not knowing the exact number.
Yes, we would just need to know if the board wants to do, what the boundary would be. And we could create, essentially, I would go back to the demographer and have them create a new grid code. That in the future, we could know what how many students we have in those areas, but we would just need to know what line that would be. For instance, if there's future development, like I've heard 12 homes or wherever, that we know, where our boundary is. Do we want to match Dry Creeks with the 331.1, 331.2, or go straight down in a line? Those would be the options that would need to get clarity from the board.
And just on the elementary boundaries, I mean, that could change, right? That community may not be Silverado in whatever years, and we can't base our decision based on what that attendance boundary is. I guess my concern is I was comfortable with the 50 homes, families for Oakmont because it would delay getting into the green, but since the primary goal of this whole study was to not only get out of the red, but ensure that our Oakmont and our schools that are underserved are in the green. And I'm afraid that because of that uncertainty and potential, I'd just say 50 other additional kids, that could delay that even further, which will really significantly impact that site. So with that, I'm not comfortable with the amended motion.
I would say if we are willing to keep 350 in Wood Creek, we can't then take out 331 and 331.2, just logistically from a busing standpoint. And if our reasoning is to keep community together, we're not doing that. So I think it's either 350 with 331 and 331.1 and 2, or none of those. It just wouldn't make sense to cut off those other little neighborhoods.
Tiffany, I think you just made the argument for logical and easy identifiable boundaries, because that is not an easily identifiable boundary with squiggly lines and going in parcels. And I think that, when you take the 350, it's a nice square. It's very easy to describe. And as we keep adding things, this incrementalism is what takes us further and further and further away. And I just, I have a problem with that. So I can't support the amendment, the motion to amend.
Should we vote on that?
It sounds like we can vote on that. So the second motion on the floor was the amended version of map B.
Yeah, so it's just voting on the amendment, not the whole motion, yes.
Yes, just the amendment. Trustee Schutz.
For the reasons I stated, unfortunately, no.
Trustee Coleman.
I would say yes. If we're doing 350, I would do the others as well.
I'm a no. Trustee
Yes.
Franz. Trustee,
I'm a no.
okay. 2, 3? No. Yes. All these point
It's a
2,
no.
point 3, right, it's a no.
With that, I
Okay.
would just go back to, I
Well-
think, oh, go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just make sure everyone knows. So the original motion, my original motion is now on the floor. So technically, we've had all the discussion. We should go to vote unless someone really needs to open discussion back
Sure,
up.
I'd like to say something else. I just think with 350, I think if our goal is, we said balancing enrollment, maintaining programs, but then we're willing to take off a couple of little pieces of 350, what's been part of their neighborhood and going to Silverado. If we're using that as the reason to keep 350 at Wood Creek High School, I don't think that that is a valid enough reason. I think we just take that whole block and move them to Oakmont High School. I think it would be odd to cut off a couple little communities from the 350.
Right, but that motion, we tried and that failed. I was with you on that.
Well, maybe this
So-
motion will fail and we'll go back to that motion again. That's a possibility. So I'm just saying, we can vote no on the motion on the floor and go back to that other motion.
Okay, fair enough. So any other discussion on scenario B? Okay. Scenario B as is. Yep, so scenario B as is. Trustee.
Yeah,
I
we already
believe
had
that
a
we
second.
already had a second. Do you need to know who that was?
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. Trustee Schutz.
Yes.
Trustee Coleman.
No.
Hall is no. Franz? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. That was 3. 2. Okay. So, motion carries 3-2. Scenario B, no amendments. Okay. That's that. Well, thank you.
Just a closing
Go ahead.
comment. I hope everyone out there sees that we really struggle with these decisions, and there's no easy decision. And both the beauty and the ugliness of this is you get to hear and see our thinking as we go through it. And if nothing else, for those of you who aren't happy, know that we struggled with it and we tried to work our way through it. And ultimately, we don't always agree with each other, but we all support the final outcome. So, thank you.
Yes, we don't all agree all the time, that's true, but we do so cordially and as lovingly as possible. And I really appreciate you all coming. You guys may or may not have noticed I was a no on all of them. And it's not that I think that you guys have done a great work. I appreciate all the time. I mean, so much time a year. And so I love all the work and thought and care and input and people coming out, but I just like personally don't love any of them. As I shared last week, I know I have the unpopular idea that we'll probably need a 7th school, so I just don't feel good about choosing any of them. That being said, I do think that the one that we chose meets the most goals that we'd outline. It will help all of the schools with programs and attendance and lines. So it's not that I am opposed to it. I just don't love it enough to go with it. So I just want to share that out. But I think we did as best as possible with the circumstances that we have, and it's part of the downside of we have a place that people love to live, so that's a great thing. Any other thoughts, comments before we adjourn?
Just thanks everybody for coming out, and we appreciate the input and the understanding this was a very difficult decision, so thank you.
And I'll also add my gratitude to all the community, not only today, recognize a Monday morning is a stinky time to have a meeting, and you've made your efforts to be here. I appreciate that, and all who emailed in and have given input. We really, really appreciate it, and again, thank you to staff.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All right, second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All right, meeting is closed.